people out there in the listening audience, please, I beg of you, listen to this entire program. You need to hear everything. Do you realize that only seconds ago, only moments ago, Janet Napolitano came on over national news, the Homeland Security Director, and she said, we are very, now this is a special bulletin only moments ago. I happened to catch it just before coming on the program right now. And she said, we are very concerned about a cyber war attack. I knew about this a week ago. Folks, you cannot imagine how important this program is.
You were telling us this last night. Well, I mean, we wrote notes on what you told us in that lengthy pre-interview to find out what's happening. You were saying, and now notice, the Israelis admittedly launched this worm. Now we've got to give up control of our internet because of a worm our own system launched.
Yes, we are on the verge. I knew a week ago that we were on the verge of something catastrophic that the elite were going to do. And here this morning, just moments ago, Janet Napolitano says a cyber war. Folks, when I lived with the elite of the world for 3 years, I was their chaplain. I lived with them. And one of the first things I learned was listen to their buzzwords. They tell you everything they're going to do before they do it. It is part of their, what should we say, their code of ethics. I believe that we have a definite warning, and in the course of the program today, Alex, I'm going to tell your listening audience everything that they can expect through 2012.
Amazing. Let's briefly talk about this, your source, and the fact that he already spilled his guts a few years ago because he thought he was going to die. Now he says he's terminally ill with cancer.
Well, for the past 35 years, there have been two individuals that I knew when I lived with the elite of the world that have given me information. Every time they have said something, I dared to risk my credibility and go on every radio talk show I could get on, such as I'm doing right now with you, and tell what these people say. This individual, I found out about 3 or 4 months ago, had cancer. He went to the lower 48 out of Alaska where he lives to have cancer therapy. I could not contact him for about 2 months. I have been completely out of the talk show circuit for 3 months' time because without information from him, I couldn't guarantee that what I was saying was true. I was finally able to contact him through his relatives. He is terminal with cancer. This man has told me everything that the elite are going to do. You can imagine that a person under a situation such as this.
So this is the biggest data dump ever we're about to get. And yes, run through, these are the notes I wrote from talking to you yesterday. Russia, China, recent agreement with Russia to supply China with oil and natural gas, what that means. Iran, elites want trouble within 3 to 4 months. Mortgages, feds will own every mortgage in America. That's why they engineered this. Crude oil, back to 150 to 200 a barrel. In direct proportion to deflation of the dollar will result in $5 a gallon in 6 to 8 months. Gold, silver won't slow down, will skyrocket from this point. And then you've got dealing with what he talks about, this global leader that your source says they're going to have rise. And then your other source, who we won't name, who had dinner with Janet Napolitano, we'll get to that as well and some other issues. Let's run through these bullet points and other ones that we didn't write down, and then let's start with what you think is most important and go through it in detail.
Everything that Alex has just said, it will take place. The elite are on track. They are on time. They have a timeline. They are going to do these things exactly as they're saying, and nothing but divine intervention could possibly stop it. I have found out the following. Folks, keep your eyes on China and Russia. Never mind the Middle East. Never mind North and South Korea. Don't worry about these little skirmishes around the world. The very thing they want to get your mind off of is that which is most important. Right now, watch China and Russia. Russia and China just signed an agreement.
China just announced they're going to freeze rare earth mineral shipments to the United States, and they run the biggest mining operations in Africa and other areas like Australia to get those rare earth minerals used in everything that's electronic.
Yes, and as of this year, Russia has become the #1 supplier of crude oil on the face of the earth because of their super deep wells, which BP attempted to duplicate in the Gulf of Mexico, and as you know, they couldn't do it, and finally it blew out. Now, Russia is the #1 supplier, surpassing Saudi Arabia as of this year. China and Russia have just signed an agreement whereby Moscow said that they are ready to supply all of the energy needs that China has. That is both crude oil and natural gas. And let me tell you why this is so important. Because natural gas, Russia is the supplier of natural gas to Europe. And whenever China comes in and takes everything they've got, what's going to happen to Europe? What a perfect tool of bribery and espionage for them.
Well, we know Putin already uses the fact that, 80% or more of the gas to Europe comes from Russia. He's already used that before and has actually turned it off before.
Yes, and can you imagine Walmart without a single product made that it says on it made in China? I mean, folks, we are on the verge of something so catastrophic, and they say to me, watch China and Russia. Folks, I am telling you in advance.
Okay, what did he specifically say is going to happen on that front?
Well, first of all, when Russia and China signed this agreement for the supply of all petroleum products, natural gas, and so on, Alex, this is so important. There was no dollar value given to the deal. No dollar value. Why? They're not going to use the dollar. I mean, this is going to devastate our currency because now the whole world will follow suit and say we're going to use something else. Well, we'll get back to that.
And that move's already happening.
Yes, it is happening right now while you're listening to this program. This is taking place, and you are facing something with Russia and China that is so important. You want to focus all of your attention on what's happening with Russia and China. You remember, I said this on your program 2 years ago, whenever this gentleman gave me everything they were going to do through 2012 before he became terminally ill. And he said to me, China is the big one. You remember those exact words. It's in my notes from 2 years ago on your program. And that's exactly what he's saying to me again. China is the big one. Watch Russia and China. That's where the big issues are going to take place in the near future, Alex.
And that's why the globalists have all been moving there and moving their main operations. This isn't like our elite are failing. Our elite aren't our elite. They're the global corporate crime syndicate that's organized this whole thing.
Yes, our elite know exactly what they're doing. For instance, Ford is investing $500 million with their new Chinese partner, Chongyang Ford Mazda Automobile Limited, right now in China, $500 million engine plant in China, 400,000 engines annually. Ford is the 11th. Listen to this. Washington has deceived us. Ford is the 11th ranking auto producer in China. Ford sold 368,000 vehicles in China since.
And we know GM on record used bailout money to move to China and Brazil. And we also, I saw it in the Statesman in Austin last week, the communist Chinese government just leased 600,000 acres of prime oil and gas fields in southeast Texas. So they are just taking everything over. They have become fabulously wealthy. The globalist gave the Panama Canal to them. They have positioned this takeover, this destruction of the U.S. from the highest levels of the government.
And every bit of this is being done by the elitists, the very people that I rubbed shoulders with for 3 years on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline.
All right, let's continue.
2 of which still give me information. Folks, believe everything you just heard Alex say and everything he's saying on his programs every day. This is not fantasy. This is for real.
What did he say? So the dollar is going to start dying even faster with all this oil and gas coming online out of Russia. Other facets to that.
Well, I do believe that they have accelerated, and please notice the word, I believe that they have accelerated that program. The main thing is they do not want the American people to rise up. They are scared to death of rebellion, and folks, don't you depend on this election. It may turn out to be what you want it to be. On the other hand, they may rig these voting booths because they're electronic. You've got to understand that the elite are on track with what they're doing, and they know exactly what's going to take place. And I do believe that they have accelerated their program because he's giving me some things now that I thought was going to take another year or two before they would take place. And we're going to talk about Iran today and a lot of these others. So, Alex, the elite are right on target.
All right, let's continue with the whole energy front. Let's get into what he told you on crude oil.
Well, first of all, crude oil is all right. Let me go back just a ways. You remember 2 years ago, this individual called me on the phone. He was very angry at me because of something I'd said. He threatened me. And at the time, I tried to be friends with him, and he said the price of crude oil is going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. I came on InfoWars. I told that. 2 months later, it took place exactly like he said it. Now, folks, you can believe this also. There is going to be a definite move in crude oil prices immediately. You had best get your dinner table ready for it. All of you truck drivers out there, I beg of you to take note of this. 2 years ago, I said it was going down. It's over. Here's the sign. Watch crude oil. Okay, he gave to me a year ago, this individual, this elitist. He said to me, I want to give you a sign, Chaplain Williams, and I think he was giving it to me so that I could prepare my own personal household. I'm going to read it to you exactly like he said it a year ago. He said, watch crude oil prices, and you will know the progression of the elitist in their program. These are his exact words. Now, where is crude oil going? You've seen it just within the past few days. Diesel fuel in my area is going up 10 cents a gallon. Crude oil is going back. Are you ready? Here we are.
Stay there. Stay there. We got to go to break.
I told you it was going up.
Lindsey, we got to go to break. Come back. We'll get into all this in detail on the other side. We'll get into Iran. We'll get into the elitist, basically getting themselves ready for total collapse. We'll talk about it all with Lindsey Williams. Key information. Call everybody you know. Tell them to tune in right now. This is important information. We'll be right back. Okay, he got cut off by the break. Lindsey Williams, his top globalist source, is terminal with cancer. Spilt his guts to him. And remember back, 2.5 years ago, oil was $50, sometimes even lower, $45 a barrel crude oil. He said it's going to over 140 in the next couple months. It did. It went to 149, 150. And then he announced, okay, now it's going to go down. And it went down. And so many other predictions that have come true. But again, this guy, this top globalist, they might be feeding him real info the whole time to later give us disinfo. I'm not saying it is. It's just that, it's not like God's appearing before us and telling us this, but it is very important because of the track record. And I also trust Lindsey Williams. But Lindsey, continuing, so what's the time frame on crude oil? Break it down for us.
The track record of my elitist friends who's been giving me this information over the past 35 years has been impeccable. Everything he has ever said has happened exactly like he said it. Now, you can take this. I'm trying my best to warn you what they're going to do. I don't want to frighten you. I want to let you know the facts so that you can do something about it. A little under 2 years ago, this individual said to me, and I'm still sitting here stunned that he has been able to fulfill this exactly like they said. He said to me, Chaplain, within 2 years, you will be so poor you will not be able to do anything about it. Now, I'm quoting him verbatim, just under 2 years ago. Here we are 2 years later, and they're indicating that they're going to take crude oil now and turn it around in the opposite direction to where it went. Folks, get ready. You will be paying at the gas pump, and I'm going to give you the amount that it's going up to, and I'll give you an approximate as to what the time frame for all of this is. Again, let me repeat his sign. He gave me a sign 1 year ago, and this is so important. Write it down. Watch crude oil prices, and you will know the progression of the elite. Now that they have started back up with their crude oil prices, this means that their program is on schedule. They're doing exactly what they've been telling me over these years they were going to do. Here it is. Here's the price. Crude oil is going back to $150 to $200 a barrel. Gasoline at the gas pump will be $4 to $5 a gallon. This is going to contrive massive inflation.